Happy Monday, Paul.
It's the most wonderful day of the week by no means or way in any way. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the most
Oh
wonderful
well.
day of the week that starts with the letter M.
And then only barely.
But before we dive into the deliciousness that is Monday, today's show is brought to you by Cloudberry Lab. Check them out at cloudberrylab.com/FRD to learn how to do all your backups to basically choose your own cloud adventure. Amazon, Azure, Google, anybody, really, realistically anybody. But
Yep.
Paul, if I said to you, Intel managed to screw this Spectre meltdown stuff up again. I think this is the
I know.
third iteration of they screwed up. What would your response to that be?
We have this phrase, if you want to make software, you have to make hardware. But
Hmm.
unfortunately, the corollary to that is if you make hardware, you have no idea how to make software. And Intel, I mean, this has been like a long-standing problem. They're really bad at this. And
Yeah.
it would be one thing if the Spectre and Meltdown stuff had literally just happened and they had never heard of it and are scrambling to make the fix and make it right. They've literally had like 8 months to get this right.
Yep. Yep.
So they suck. I,
Yeah.
I don't
And
know. I don't know what else to say. They're terrible.
over the weekend, it became apparent that Intel screwed up not once, but twice for that matter. The first screw up, which came up from the Wall Street Journal, which I guess is still waiting to be verified, but I have no reason not to believe what they're reporting, is that once Intel uncovered this issue, they actually went and told the Chinese government before the US government first, which, as you can imagine, probably is not making people in Washington, D.C. very happy. And
I'm
the
curious about that, by the way. Like what? I mean, first of all, why does anyone even know this? And secondly, was the time frame dramatic? I mean, I is
right, that's
this like
the
a big
unknown.
deal? I'm not even really sure. Like something bad
Yeah.
happens, who do you call first? Not usually
Yep.
China, but I would usually call a loved one or whatever.
Well,
I
and
don't
don't
know. It just
forget
seems
that the
like kind of a
CEO apparently called his stockbroker too, and that
yes.
yeah,
Yes.
um, that story is still playing out, but we'll learn about that. The other screw up that came out, Microsoft issued an emergency patch, and all this patch really does is undo what Intel did, because apparently what Intel did was not only causing random reboots, which is bad enough, it was also now
Yep.
corrupting data. And for a vulnerability that has no known exploits in the wild, you were worse off installing the Intel microcode update, because that was more likely to do damage to your machine than an actual intruder.
I wish I had like a supply of confetti above my head that I could hit a button and it would just fall down so we could celebrate every time something stupid like this happened. But this is like such a beautiful example of this kind of thing. Yeah, it's a fix for a fix. It's my favorite kind of fix. Um, so Microsoft, to their credit, is not. They're obviously not very happy with Intel over this whole thing. I mean, there's been some kind of veiled criticisms or whatever, and in this
Mhm.
case, they've released it. If you got the patch, you should get this thing automatically. If you're worried about it, you can go download it and install it. They've provided workaround instructions if for some reason you like playing with the registry and would like to do it manually. Um, but they haven't really danced on Intel's grave yet. I get the feeling that one day we may hear that story. Like I think Microsoft is, or I should say, I know Microsoft is very unhappy with Intel right now. And this kind of puts that whole Qualcomm thing in an interesting perspective, doesn't it?
I just imagine that inside the walls of the Windows org at Microsoft, there's some like
Yeah.
mid-level manager who got this news, and he's like, "Shit, we got to tell Terry. Where's the intern?"
Yes,
They
exactly.
just
Put on a red
send the
shirt and just
intern.
push him into the office. Yeah.
Terry just spins around on his chair. What is it this time? Then remember that
Yeah,
Intel
exactly.
thing?
Yes, yes. Yeah, it's like
Like
that scene in that Force Awaken movie where he says the guy's like, "There's another thing," and then he kind of pulls him forward with the Force. And he's like, "What?" Yeah, exactly. What did they do this time?
the only way this could get worse, like Intel's had a pretty spectacular run of January. I think every single week of January they've had some really bad news come out. Is the only thing I
Yep.
can think of is like next week we're gonna learn that they intentionally programmed this in for like the CIA and the KGB. Like that's the only way
Oh
this can go
man,
further down.
they're working hand in hand with Kaspersky Labs
Oh God.
to ensure the security of everybody.
Yeah,
Oh boy.
that's about as far down as it could go unless they come out and say, "Hey, actually, the performance hit is actually like 70%." And
This
then I
is a
would
great
maybe.
example of why Microsoft does want to end Intel's monopoly, because this is, think about the extinction event this would be if Intel and AMD, say, had roughly 50% market share each, right?
Mhm.
If this had happened in that world, Intel as a company may literally have disappeared. But because
Mhm.
we all rely on them, literally all of us, like 90 some high percentage, it's like, you just have to kind of suck it up,
Yep.
We put through, we're going to be patching our computers for the rest of our lives because of this. There's no doubt about it.
Yep.
Astonishing.
It is. Paul, I see you've been having. If Clippy were here, he would pop out and say, "I see you're having trouble with custom domains.
Yep. I don't
Would
know
you
how
like
to
some help?"
explain this problem quickly, and I'll just say, I mean, I will try to do so. People know that you have these online accounts with Microsoft. You have a Microsoft account, which is kind of a personal account.
Hmm.
You can have an Office 365 / Azure AD account, or just an Active Directory account on the business side. And Google has these things too, right? So Google has Gmail accounts. They're free. You sign up for one, you get access to all the Google services. Google also has something that they now call a G Suite account. This started life as, I think it was called Google Apps for Your Domain. And it was literally just a way to get a custom domain attached to a Gmail account and to provide some very basic services for getting your business online. Because back in 2004 or whatever year it was, that kind of thing was still kind of a hurdle for people, right? So they have website tools and stuff. Over the years, G Suite has grown up just like Microsoft's Office 365 stuff has, and now it kind of spans the gamut from very small businesses all the way up to enterprises. And they have all these capabilities. They have a very complex and full-featured admin console for businesses. And Thurrott.com, the domain, is kind of stranded there in a way, because at one point well before we started this company or whatever, became part of this company, it was a personal domain of mine, and I was using it with Windows Live Custom Domains. At one point, I moved it over to Google to test it. During that process, Microsoft canceled Windows Live Domains, and so it was kind of stranded over there. And when I came on board with BWW, those folks, us now, are using the Google stuff on the back end. So it kind of works. We all use Google. Our email and everything is all Google. But it makes sense for me. Use Thurrott.com as a domain. It's the identity now online for me. It's my name. It's obviously I want my email address to be paul@thurrott.com. What I've discovered over the years is that the differences between a Gmail account and a G Suite account are vast, and new capabilities come first to Gmail, often by years. By the way, Project Fi was available on Gmail almost exactly 2 years before they put it on G Suite. In many cases, features never come online, right? So we talk a lot about these smart devices. One of the things I can't do with my G Suite account is get my schedule on Google Home or Google Assistant. You can on the phone, but on Google Home, it doesn't work with G Suite accounts. It only works with Gmail accounts. That's an issue I did not write about in that article, but it's a really good example of how this can hurt you, right? The final straw for me was, and this is the story I did tell in the article, was we were out to dinner, my wife and I, and my brother-in-law and my sister, and those two are going to Germany in a couple of months. And I was saying, what you got to do is you can add this. There's a feature in Google Maps where you can star places on a map. Every time I travel internationally, when we moved here, I've done this. I will go to the area and I'll star the places I want to visit. And as I visit them, I unstar them. And they're like, oh, that's a really good idea. It's kind of like a visual map-based to-do list.
Mm-hmm.
So my sister takes out her phone and she brings up the name of the restaurant we're in. And there's a save button. And her save button looks like a little bookmark, not a star. That's interesting. And she hits that. And then a menu comes up and she has choices of how she can choose to save it. On my phone, a pure Google phone, I only have the option to star or unstar. I can't make lists. I can't use different icons. I can't put them in different places. I can star, not star. That's it. So we all debated why would this be? My wife's phone, my brother-in-law's phone had all those options. I do not have those options. And they were kind of laughing at me because, like, don't you have the Google phone? Like, wouldn't the Google phone do all the stuff? Like, that doesn't make sense. And it wasn't until the next morning when I was reading the newspaper, because brains work. It's like going in the back of your head somewhere. I was like, it's not the phone, it's the account. So I went to Google Maps on my phone. I signed in with my Gmail account. Ta-da! All those features came up, and that's when I was like, I'm done. I'm done. This problem has bit me approximately 50 times, where there's some feature that I'm not getting because I want to use a custom domain. It's the only thing I want out of G Suite. I don't care about any of the other stuff. I just want everything that Gmail offers with my name, and I can't have it. So I'm literally going to switch everything back to Gmail. I will still use, paul@throughout.com for email, but everything else, I'm just going to use Gmail now because I have no idea what I'm missing, right? How would I have known that that feature wasn't available? It's crazy.
Well, folks, you heard it here first. You can anger Paul Thurrott 50 times, but on the 51st, that's too many.
Well, it was little indications. Like, for example, when I test Chromebooks,
right?
I'm not going to get this exactly right off the top of my head, but with a Chromebook, you have to sign in with your full password. They don't have like pins and stuff. Well, actually, now they do. I'm sorry. Mm-hmm. So, the pin capability on a Chromebook was not offered to me with a G Suite account. Like, what the fuck? Like, I have to ponderously type in my email address. Now, they do offer like a phone proximity feature where if your phone's nearby and you're signed in, you can click on your face and that will sign you in if the phone's there. So there's a little bit of nicety there, but why on earth? And there's no place in settings to turn that on. Like, there's no admin console version of like, just give me everything or just give me these specific features. Like, I looked up this Google Map thing. It's not in there, and I've had it. Like, I can't do this anymore. I can't believe that we're paying for this service and we're getting a lot less. And I don't even know how much less. There's a bunch of other stuff I probably never noticed because why would I know? It's aggravating.
I got a whole bunch of nothing for you.
No, I know. It's a crazy topic,
It really is. And that's
but here's what sucks the most. I'll just say, when you think about like online identities and you sign into different services and you use different things, the worst part about this for me, honestly, aside from the obviousness, the terribleness of the event itself, is like I write about this and I think to myself, this is good information. I don't see a lot of people. I don't know that anyone's ever written on this topic per se. I mean, the notion that G Suite accounts don't have all the features of Gmail is probably out there somewhere, but I've never seen anyone kind of tackle this topic. And of course, like all the responses to this article of people saying, "Oh, you should just use Outlook.com," or "Why don't you just use Office 365?" Like, that's not the point. It's not about which service is better. I'm comparing Gmail to G Suite. Like, you could write something like this about Outlook.com and Office 365 commercial. Like, there are going to be pros and cons. There's probably things you get in Outlook.com or your Microsoft account you don't get on Office 365 commercial. The point isn't to sell me on some other thing. It's like the Google account is a fact of life. Like, you may use your Microsoft account for email and calendar. Cute. That's good for you. But it has nothing to do with the fact that I sign into YouTube and I still need to use my Gmail account. Like, it's just not helpful. So that was my weekend. Pretty much me going slowly insane.
You live an exciting life.
I do. That's true.
Although based on how my weekend was, you should probably actually have some pretty nice weather today.
Yeah. And by the way, that's the end of that. Did you bother to look at the weather?
Yeah, no, I know it's coming, but we had one day of it was like 53 yesterday and sunny. We were outside with the kid because we couldn't stand to be inside and look at each other anymore. Yeah.
Yeah, it's only going to be 40 something today. It was about 50. I think it was yesterday. Oh no, yesterday it rained. I think it was Saturday. It was like about 50 something. It was nice. But that was it's over, dude. It's all over.
Yeah, I was out swinging a golf club in my backyard, thinking about how much I miss golf. Nice. Yeah. For those watching the Farmers Championship this weekend, that went into playoffs, and then it got too dark out because it took them. This is what kills me about golf. Paul, these guys are professionals. The leading group, because it was windy, took them over 6 hours to play a round of golf. And these guys are pros. That's right. A round of golf should be about 4. So we'll see. Anyways, other things happening this.
Just put a dome over that thing.
Put a dome over you. Anyways, folks, other things happening this week. Microsoft are dropping their earnings on the 31st. We have Apple on the 1st, and Alphabet, also known as Google, they are dropping theirs on the 1st as well. And this will be interesting, especially for, well, I guess Google a little bit, but Microsoft and Apple, this will be including the holiday shopping season. And yeah, that'll be interesting to see how well Surface did, iPhones, and all that good stuff.
Yep.
Paul, before I go get my haircut, you got anything else for today?
Not really.
Good.
Just, yeah. How about you? Well, you're getting your haircut, I guess.
Yeah, that's your
big plan for the day.
That is. Yeah, I've actually got a busy week full of nothing. I mean, like I'm going to go to my daughter's school tomorrow at like 2:15 for some thing. I don't even know what it is. My wife told me I had to be there, and I know I'm smart enough to know that I'm going to be there.
Yep.
So, yep. Anyways, folks, is Miracast working? It is. Today's show is brought to you by Cloudberry Lab. Check them out, cloudberrylab.com/FRD, and go grab a free trial. Actually, they've got more than that over there. You can learn how to back up to Azure, Amazon, Google Cloud, all that good stuff. And we'll catch you right back here tomorrow.